Okay, so I'm going to start our session on this fundamentals of programming. So today we are here in our session to discuss the fundamentals of programming, and we are going to do that with a language C sharp. And why we are starting with fundamentals is because as a programmer, anyone to like be good at it, fundamentals are really needed. So we'll just start with basic. We'll use the language C sharp. These are the contents we are going to look. This is a little bit overview. Maybe we could go a little bit deeper also in these concepts. So we'll see things about C sharp as we are going to use that. So we should know a little bit of its rules and everything. And we will start with syntax, how to start our code with C sharp. We'll see how to declare variables, how to use that, display that, how to use multiple variables, what are identifiers and all. We'll be seeing also data types, what data type is and what they do, why we use that. After that, when we will learn data types, we'll be using typecasting. There are different types of data casting. We'll see that operators and operands, conditional statements and loops. We'll try to cover all of this stuff in this session. So we will start with C sharp. So what is C sharp? For C sharp, I'll say this is a programming language which is developed by Microsoft, and this works on .NET framework. So framework means, as of now, we'll just know that framework means something that it is a tool that we use to that is helpful in our writing code, and it helps in giving a structure to our code. Okay, so for C sharp is a similar kind of language with like C++ and Java. It is very much similar, and it is simple and easy to learn. That's why we are going with this. So in C sharp, there is one thing I'll say start only, that it is a case sensitive word, a case sensitive programming language. And what do I mean by case sensitive? It means, okay, we'll see that later. So C sharp language. C sharp is used in various variety of things. Like we can use this for developing web applications, desktop applications, mobile applications, games, etc. This has variety of users. So we are starting with this so that we can be able to start writing a small program, and then we can move forward and we'll see where we can go up to. So how do we start writing C sharp program? So for that, I'll be using an IDE that is known as Integrated Development Environment, IDE. So IDE is like Integrated Development Environment, which we'll be using as an our environment where we will create our C sharp programs, and we'll edit that and compile that. Compiling means, I would say that compiling just into whatever code we are writing. So it will compile, interpret those codes for our machine and to give our desired output. So how do we install? For this, we will be using Visual Studio. So you can search Visual Studio in your Chrome browser. You will see Visual Studio IDE code editor. You can go there. You can download this community version, as I've previously downloaded that. So I'll just start from there. So you will start Visual Studio Code. We will have to choose which program we are going to start. Like these are variety of options. One important thing is when you install Visual Studio, you will have to add the workload, like which type of programs we are going to do in this Visual Studio. So for that workload, you will have to select this .NET development. As I've already said, that C Sharp language works on .NET framework. So we'll have to choose this and install that. After that, we will be ready to use our program. So when we start this Visual Studio, we'll get interface like this. We have to go create a new project. So as we are using C Sharp, we'll search here for our console.
Hi Ashish, just one quick question. So if we have
Uh,
any questions, can we interrupt you in between because I don't see a chat box?
you can just think, yeah, okay. Okay. So where are we? So we are creating our console app. We can just check it is using C Sharp. We'll start with that. You can just give name, like what name we want. So after creating this will create the project for us. So this kind of syntax will be in front of us. So this is like a small program already in there, a written predefined small basic hello world program. And one thing is that whenever we are writing program in C sharp, we should always check for like extension. This uses extension .cs. Like in other languages like HTML or something, whenever we write, we end it with save it with .html, .css, and everything. So for C sharp, it goes like .cs. This is syntax, small basic syntax. It will define. I'm not going to define everything here because when we will move around with course, we'll be clearing everything bit by bit. So as of now, we can see here like namespace. Namespace is a basic definition. I will say that namespace is something that we use to organize our code, like separating, and it used to store, like works as a container. Inside that, we put our classes and everything. Like inside this namespace, I've started with our class. So this class and objects are in itself are different topics that we will discuss on object-oriented programming. So as of now, if we are defining class is something you can can define that it is like it contains the features. Like if we'll say basic example for of now, um, if we'll take different variety of fruits, okay, like banana, apple, and mangoes, all of these have some similarities. They have properties, and those properties are some of them are similar. Okay, like all of them are sweet. So one of the properties are same with them. So these fruits are belong to a specific category. That category is fruit. So that fruit will be known as the class, and these other objects, banana and apple, or things will be known as objects. So class that contains data and methods, which basically gives the functionality to our program. Like whatever code we are going to write, all of them should be inside our class. So all those things, collection of data and methods will be giving functionality to our program. And here I'm not going to define a static and void as of now, but main is a method, and this is the main method here because everything inside this code is going to be this opening and closing braces is going to be executed. Okay, and we will be editing our code inside this main method only here today. So anything inside this main method comes, this is going to be executed. And here this is console. If I hover over it, we'll see it says class system.console. That means that we are using a class, okay, which is inside system. And write line is a method that belongs to this console class. As I have already discussed, this console have different methods. Console class have different method inside that. So one of those methods is write line. Okay, so write line we use this at this period here. So write line code means a method means that whatever inside this write line method is going to be printed out for the user or in the as output it will come, or we used to print and write something for the user or in the screen or as output we can take. There are multiple methods: write line, write, read line, and we are going to see all of them. So as I move to this part, so this basic code we have seen here, we'll try to execute. For the execute, we can just press F5 or just we can press this button to compile our code, and this will give us a result. So the content which was written inside write line method was hello world. So it comes over here. If we'll change that, and if you let anything else, this is going to come as an output for us. So till here, after that, we have seen the syntax and everything. Now we'll see one thing I haven't said: the comments. Comments we don't usually we use comments a lot. That is comments used for like if we want to prevent some codes of lines that which we don't want to execute or to explain something in between our code. Like if we write something in our code, this main method will try to execute that. So prevent that line of to prevent that line of code to be executed, we use comments. Okay. So comments are of two types. We see single line and one is multi-line. Single line comments, we just use double slash, and whatever in this line will come will not be executed by by the main method. And for multi-line, we use slash and star. Inside that, we can use how much line we want to use, and inside all of these things aren't going to be executed. So as we have one code here, one line of code, if we'll copy this, we have three lines of code, and all three of them are getting executed. So if we want to prevent the middle one to be executed, we'll just comment it out. If we'll now run our program, we'll see that is being commented out. In similar way, we can comment out all these two lines together. And both of these lines will be commented out. See. So this we generally, or not generally, this is considered as best practice to use comments to define our code so that it is more readable and understandable to other persons or to ourselves also. Now, if we'll move forward, we'll go to our next topic, that is variables. So for variables, we can say that variables are containers that store data values. Variables are containers for storing data values. Okay, so if you want to store some value, we need something to put in. Like if in general word also we have something, if we want to keep something, we need some space for that. To create that space, we use variables here. We declare variables and we keep data values, and whatever value we want to use on our code, we can put it there. We can define different types of variable, like different types of data values. We will see data values in separate section, but here I'm saying that it is like int, double. Int is used for storing whole numbers, like it can be negative or positive, but whole numbers we use store in integer, and for integer we use int. And for using decimal, as this stores only whole number integers, to store decimal values, we store it in float values. The float we use double, float also we use, we'll discuss that. For storing single characters only, like in alphabetical characters, any characters if you want to store in variable, we use character, and for character we use char. And similar way, like we are storing a character, we can also store sequence of characters, which will be stored in string. And Boolean is defined as bool here. Okay, we will use bool keyword for Boolean, and this can only define two states, either true, false, yes, or no. Okay, so if I'll go for variables, so then how can we define variables? To define variables, what we can do, what we have to do is like first we have to define which type of data value we want to store. So if we want to store, first we have to describe which type of data value it is there. Then we'll have to give variable name, and inside that we can store whatever value we want to store. Okay. So like a variable I want to create, which is an integer. So for that I will give type integer int, and if I'll give a name to this variable, that is my variable. Okay. So my variable, and which what value I want to give, a whole number, because it is an integer. So whole number I'll give 4 something. So now what happened is we have created a variable whose name is my variables, which is the int type, and the value for that is 4. Uh, as similar way, we can define strings also as strings. String. One difference is there between character and string, that whenever we are using character, we have to make sure that it is in single quote. And whenever we are storing string values, it should be inside double quote. So as we are using string here, this is we will be storing it in double quote, like any value, any string. And C programming, any code line statement will be ending with this semicolon. Without this, we will be getting an error. So we should end every code, must end every code with a semicolon. Now, as we have described, declared our variables, one int and one string. So how can we use that? So we can use that as we earlier saw that write line is the method inside code console that used to print stuff. So here we will use the same method console.writeLine. And if we want to print our integer value 4, and we know that that value is stored in my variables. So what we'll do, we will not just write anything, we'll just write the variable name. What variable name? My variable. Okay. If now we'll run, we'll get our output. In similar way, if we want to use our string that we've stored in a variable called my string, in same way, console.writeLine method and my string, the name of the variable, and we'll run, we'll get our value. I said we have different types. So for in similar way, we can define variables for each of them, and we can use we can define each of them, and we can use as our preference. And as a variable, uh, like one question would be there, like if we wanted to print out 4, why we just didn't simply printed 4? So why we use variables like in code, like we declare variables, and at some point if we know that it is not permanent and it is going to change, and we have to use that at multiple places, for that safety we declare variables. And if we want to store something that we don't want to change, for that we can declare variables which are constant. So it has the same thing, it has same procedure, but we will use the keyword construct and constant. For creating a constant variable, we'll just simply add const, and then we can define whatever value inside. We have given constant, then our data type, then name for our variable, and then the value which we want to store. As this is a double floating value, we are using a decimal value. Now if we want to print this thing is okay. Right now we don't see any difference between both of them. So what is the difference between is like when we define a variable, we can change later on wherever we like to change it. So as we have declared my variable, so if you want, I have it is like my variable 4 I have defined, it is printing 4 here. It is printing 4 here. So now if I want to change the value, I can just use that variable name, and I can just change that value to 100. And now if I try to run that program, that value will be changed to 100. So in variables, we can change our values that we have given to our variables, but in constant variables, we can't. Like if I'll try here, this using this my double variable, if I'll try to change that, we'll be getting an error. Okay. So if we are sure enough and we know that this value I'm going to change, we have to use the constant value. We can define constant variables in our program. So after constant, we have to send two types variable. And now that we have already been accessing our variables, but if we can define more than one variables also. There is no limit in creating variables, but you can create as many as you want. We can add our variables, we can display our variables, we can display even multiple variables together. So first we'll do that one thing that I will define a string that is first and give value to Ashish. Now if I just print that console.writeLine, this first variable name here, will get Ashish. Okay. Now if I want to add this with another string or another variable, what we can do is just we can simply create another variable. This variable name is last and I will give Kumar. Okay, so now if we want to print, I'll delete this line. Now if we want to print both of these together in the same line, what we can do is like we can call this method writeLine method, and we'll add this to variables first and last. So what this will do, this will add these string values first and last together and print them side by side. This plus operator can also be used to add numbers also. See, 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. As you should see the part of defining variables, we were defining a single variable in a single line. Okay, if we have multiple variables are of same type, like we have integer variables, we have to create integer values variables for 3 items. So we can define all of them in a single line also. We will give the data type, we'll give name X, okay, we'll give the value, then Y, whatever value we need, and Z. Okay, and we can use all of them X, Y, and Z. We can use them separately also. This is not necessary to use if we are defined all in a single line. We are not like bound to use them in a single line. As we have created all these variables, we have declared their values also. Okay, so if we don't want, we can uh, provide their values later also. Like we have defined an integer X and Y. Now we want to give values to them. We can give values separately to each of them. Now if we want to access, we can access them separately. We can access them together and perform something inside, perform some actions with them, or we can just write their values. Like here, I'm just printing the value of X, and in here, I'm just printing the value of X plus Y. We're getting both the results. As I've said, writeLine is a method. Another method we have is write, just simple write. So what the difference between writeLine and write is whenever we are using writeLine, we can see in our result that after every result we have it came to the next line automatically. So instead of using this writeLine, if we use just write method, we are not going to get an extra line. So all those results will be on the same line. If we'll remove line from each of them, all of them will come in a single line. So this is the difference between writeLine and write. After that, we are discussing about variables. So in variables, we have to discuss one thing, that is identifiers. So what are identifiers? So whenever we are describing or declaring a variables, we should make sure that each of them are unique and different. So these were the names or the words, keywords we are giving to the variables are known as identifier, which is used to identify those variables. And we have some rules for creating these variables identifiers, and some rules for that are like whenever we are declaring a identifier variable, we can use alphabets, numerics, and underscores, but we should start with a letter. We cannot start a variable name with a number, and we should always start with a lowercase. And there should not be any spaces between the variable name. Like here we have int my variable. So this is a complete variable, and the name of the variable identifier is my variable. Okay. So if we give a white space between them, this variable word is not anymore connected to that complete variable name. So if whenever we are using variable names, if the name is large, we can use a camel casing. We said camel casing start with a lowercase, but whenever the words are changing, we can use capitalize the first word of each letter, each words. So we have done the part of identifiers. Now we'll move to data types. Okay. So data types, if I define what are data types, so data types generally basically used to specify the type and size of the values we are using. Like we were giving some values to our variables. Okay. So how do we say that, and how do we define that, what kind of data it is? Like we were saying int. So int is a data type. So this defines that int is a data type integer. Another one was double, another one then character string. So for that we have multiple. These are the multiple data types we use in C sharp, and those are for storing integer values. We use integer, and for integer int. Okay, so integer int data types can store values from here to here. Okay, a large amount of value. But if we want to store some values which are larger than that and that can't be stored in these 4 bytes of size, then we use long. So long has double size, then it has takes 4 bytes of size, and long takes 8 bytes of size. So whenever we want to store an integer or whole number value which is larger than int, so we can use our long data type to store that values. Similarly, for storing whole numbers, we were using integer, int, and long. And to store the fraction values with decimal values, we use float and double. So float and double, the difference between float and double. The difference is both of them stores decimal values, fractional numbers. But whenever we are using float, it is limited to 6 to 7 decimal digits. After that, the precision can be lost. So for that safety, we use double. Mostly we use double to ensure that the precision of the data remains, and it can store up to 15 decimals of digits. Boolean takes only 1 bit of space, as it only describes true or false to values 0, 1, yes or no. Character stores only one character from alphabet A, B, C, from anything. Strings, as I already said, strings store sequence of characters, and it is always difference between character and string is that character is always surrounded by single quote and strings are always surrounded by double quotes. Now, if we'll go, we have defined one thing. We have used integer my num is equal to 5. Okay, so this integer type value stored in my num, and what we are going to discuss, data types, now typecasting. Okay, so we'll go from data types to typecasting. Okay, so typecasting is a method you say that in which we just assign values of one type to another type. Like we have this integer my num, and we want to assign this integer value to a double. Okay, so that thing will be known as typecasting, and that can be done in two ways. One is implicit and other is explicit. Okay, so what we mean by implicit and what do we mean by implicit? So typecasting, one is implicit and other is ex explicit. So in implicit, the typecasting is done automatically, and explicit we do it manually. So how we do it manually? And one more thing, that in implicit we move from smaller data types to larger data types, and from explicit we move from larger data types to smaller data types. One thing to remember is that whenever we are moving from like larger data types to smaller data types, where we may get loss, there may be a loss of data. As the we'll see an example. First, we'll see implicit. So for implicit, we can see that I have defined one variable integer 5. Now I will define another variable with name uh, my double. Okay, my double. And now I'm going to do what I'm going to do is like this 5 value has been assigned to this my num. Now I'm going to assign this 5 value, this my num value to this my double. So here, so this is an implicit typecasting in which it is done automatically by the system, and it is not a problem because doesn't create any problem because we are moving from smaller to larger data type, so there won't be a loss of data in anything. We can't see a difference here much as integer and these are doesn't holds. We're getting the same answer, but whenever we will move from or we'll use the explicit typecasting. For explicit typing, I will be defining a double. Okay, floating value 45.45 and double. I forgot to give variable name double, and name for this is double test. Okay, so we have this variable which holds double value 45.45, and now if we'll try to convert use the typecast explicit typecasting. So first we will try to move from double to int. Okay, so we'll define an integer my int, and now we'll assign this my int. This double test is a double value. Now we want to change this to an integer. Okay, so we'll use the int keyword here, and we'll give the value we want to change, like use for typecasting my double. Okay, because now I'm commenting this out. So first we'll see the result for this. Okay, console.write double test. Okay, for this we are getting the result 45.45. Now, if we use the typecasting and we will move from double to int, and we know that int can't store values after decimal, it just stores whole numbers. So we will getting a loss of data here. Let's see the result. We have to use typecasted variable my int. Okay, this my int we are using here after converting. I'm using a different value here, double test. Okay, this double test is converted, double test converted into integer. Now we will see printing this my integer value. Now we are seeing only 45. Why? Why? Because when we move from a floating value to integer, and integer shows only whole numbers, these values up to the point I'm getting got lost. So these things we have to remember in typecasting. Other method for
Hello,
in
Asif.
typecast. Hello.
Hello, I'm asking Asif if you directly write in implicit way, it will show error or it will
Where?
show value. मतलब int my int is equal to that double
Hmm.
test. If you write implicitly,
Hmm.
it will show error or
Like you want to say that after int my int we are not writing that int value and we are trying to just
uh,
simply giving the value here.
yeah. I was asking it will show error or
Yeah, it will show error because it does not know that this value need to be in which way it's going to. We have just assigned. Wait, I will tell you. Right now we leave this code here. Okay, this part. At this part we have just assigned this int value. Like my int is an integer type. Okay, and after this we are going to say that this double test this this int is for this my int variable. Okay, and now we want to typecast this, change this double test into an int. So for that we have to say it ask it that this double this double test variable we need to convert. So in which form? In which data type? In int. So we are defining it here that this value is going to be changed into double int. This int value is not for this typecasting. This int value is just for defining this in my int value where we're going to store after typecasting this value. Did you understand or I have to do it again?
no. I understood. Thank you.
And while we are
So
discussing
Ashish,
type, hello,
Zoom ID a little bit.
what?
Zoom ID.
Zoom ID, okay. Is it visible?
Yeah, sure.
Hmm. So this int
Okay,
here is just to describe this variable. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Ashish?
Yes.
Yeah. So, there is a double test, right? So,
Hmm.
is it okay if we can also do that to convert to a string or
Yeah, we can.
convert to double? That also can we do that, right?
Yeah, we can convert. Like in implicit, we can discuss two types: implicit and explicit. Okay. So
Yeah.
whenever we are going now, so so whenever we are discussing implicit, we can go from one type to another type. But in implicit way, as it is done automatically, it is done from we move from smaller types to larger types, and we have seen here that these data types have their own sizes. Okay, so in implicit we move from smaller to larger types. So at that case, if we have any integer value, okay, so integer value stores whole numbers, and we typecast from integer to double. We move from smaller to larger, and as double can store whole numbers in means like if you have 45.00 can be stored in double. So in that case, we are not going to get any loss of data. We can do that. We can move from int to double, double to string, everything. But in implicit, we move from smaller to larger, and explicit, we do it manually, where we get loss of data most of the times. And from there, we will move from larger data types to smaller data types, like we are using double or just simply float. Okay, float use some fractional values, 6 point something and anything. But smaller than that will come integer. Okay, we're coming to an integer. Integer can't store those values. So we have to manually tell them that as it is not automatic, for correct things, we can go automatically and this happens no problem. But when we are moving from larger to smaller types, we have to say them uh, in a way, say it like we want to move from larger types to smaller types and data is lost. We are manually doing it. It is our choice. So for that, we can do from string and everything. We can move from here and there. And for the strings you ask question, for that I have one example and one concept is their type conversion methods. Okay, so we were doing a type casting and we have another thing. One of the thing is type conversion method. So what is type conversion method is when we convert or like when we convert our data from one type to another type by using built-in methods. Okay, the methods we have pre-built in our system, we can use these classes and all. So how can we use that? For that we have multiple methods for type conversion method. We have very much like convert to will be a capital, convert to boolean, it will be like to string, convert will be there in front of it, convert to string, to int, to float and everything. We have all these methods which convert. After that, convert to boolean, to string, to int, and we have two types in int. So for using the smaller int value, we will be having like convert dot to int 32. This will be using int. And if we'll use convert dot to int 64, this will be using long. And why the difference 32 and 64? I'll uh, say in a simpler words like 32 and 64. Just remember those things. Here we see ints take 4 bytes and long takes 8 bytes, and both of them are integers. Okay, so we want to convert our data from integer, convert to integer. So, but how do we decide that it is an int and long? So we use that int 32. 32 why? Because 4 bytes. Okay, we'll describe describing the size. And as we know, 1 bytes to takes 8 bits. So we are describing bits there. So 84, 32, 88, 64. So we are just describing here. Convert to in 32, it will mean that we want to convert our data into integer. And convert to in 64, that will mean that we are trying to convert our data into a long integer. Okay, so we'll see one example for this type conversion. We will use type conversion method. So for type conversion method, I will be defining an int. Okay, mind already use this. Mind value will be 10. Int 1. Another I'll be defining double name double 1, and we'll also taking one boolean as we haven't discussed taken much boolean here. We'll take one boolean value and this variable name will be my bool as equal to, we'll take it as true. Okay, so we have described declared here 3 values. One is integer, double, and boolean. All of them has values, given values to them. So now we'll try to use type conversion methods. And how can we use directly and print our result is like we can use our method writeLine method. Okay, so if we use simply writeLine and if we'll print int1, we are going to get our value 10. But what if we want to convert this? Okay, so we'll simply use that type conversion methods like in which we want to convert this. We want to convert this int value into a string. Okay, so convert dot to string. Convert dot to string. Which one we want to convert? Int1. Okay, so we are having an int value 10. We want to convert this int value into a string. That's why I used convert dot to string. In result, we aren't going to see any difference because both of them have a similar size. So both of them can store this value. 10 then can be stored in both of them. we will see difference in Boolean. So if we'll use the same thing with console, first we'll see double. Okay, console dot write line. We use the method. We use the method convert dot to. Okay, convert dot to, in which we want to convert this. We want to convert this double into a int. Which one? Int 32. 32 by we just want to convert it to smaller int. Now, which value we want to convert? This double one. Close this. Okay, so now this double value, generally we have gotten the result 42.4, but now as we have converted using the type conversion method, using the convert.toInt method, convert method, you can say, we are now will be getting result only 42. So yeah, for the Boolean, as we know, Boolean can store only two values, either true or false. Okay, so we use console write line. Now if we convert this Boolean into a string, a Boolean to a string, and then we'll see what result we are getting. Which one? My. So expected result, console dot convert to string my Boolean. We're converting a Boolean to a string. For that we got only true, as this value true has been changed to a string, and this is stored into this Boolean value has changed to a string, and this stored in printed in our result. You can say we change the value, it will be changed. Now as we have discussed and used different types, data types, declared variables, and now we'll see like how to use them. Okay, so in variables, I didn't used, I guess, for adding and subtracting. Now we'll do that on operators. What we can do with operators. So till now we were giving values. Okay, we were giving values in our code only, and we were displaying it on in our results. So what if we want to take input from user or input from keyboard, and we want to use that and display that? So for that, as we have here write line and write method in console, we also have one method is read line. And what that read line method does is reads whatever we give as an input with keyboard, it reads that. So I'll remove this. I'm getting only this thing. So after this, if we use console dot read line, we will be getting a space to write whatever we want, but we can't do anything with that. Why? Because we just using the method, we are not storing that value anywhere. So to use that value, what we do is we create a variable that can store the value we are getting from keyboard or from our input devices. So we'll use string only. So one variable is string, and for that variable I'm giving name first read. Okay, and what this value, where we are not giving any values till now, we were giving values to our variables here only, but now I don't want to give value here. I want to take value from the user. So for that we will be using readline method, console dot readline. So what this is going to do, this will be doing that console.readline will be opening a place for the user to input that values, and then when that values will be entered, that will be stored in this first line variable. If you run that, Okay, so now that variable is being stored, but we are not doing any work with that. So to use that variable, as we already know that value is being stored in this first read, now we want to use that value. We can do anything. We can just simply, okay, console.writeLine. We will want to write. First, we'll ask user to give a name. Enter your name. Earlier, we would have just, if you want to just print name, we would have been given just first name and here name anything, Ashish or anything. But now we want to say print out name which is given by the user. So for that, read line stores that value in first int and we'll call that first int method here, variable here. In double quotes, first read. Now if we will run that. First right line method is executed. Now whatever name I'll give, this is going to be taken by the next line of code and that will be printed. And this can be used for many cases, many scenarios. And one thing is there, we can't use directly here int values. Like if you want to use int here, and if you want to take the age of user also in console.readLines, so it shows an error. Okay, so why? Because this readline methods returns values in a string. Okay, so we can't just simply use int in that. So for that, we'll be using conversion method in here, type conversion method to get an int value from the user, but we'll convert it into a string and then we can use it to show our result. So simply int age, we'll taking the same thing, int age, but first we'll convert this. Convert dot to string, which one? The value we are getting from console.readline. Readline is a method we should close. Int age convert dot to int. Okay, yes, we want to convert this int. First read. So now this int value is converted into this string value we will be getting. We will be converting into a string and then we can use that. We'll change it to enter your age. Now we can just use this to simply print that value. So now we have discussed this data type. Now to a parts operator. Okay, so operators we have been using earlier. We used to combine two variables, a plus sign. Okay, so all those signs that we use here, like operator shall define operator used to perform some functions between. We have two terms, operators and operands. So operators are used to perform some operations between operands. Like if I'll say if I have two things like 4 plus 6. Okay, so this plus sign is an operator here and 4 and 6 are operands. So we are performing some actions between these two elements and this is used to perform that operation. So that is known as operator. And we have four types of operators here. arithmetic, assignment, comparison operators, logical operators, and all are being used in our development. So these many types of arithmetic operators we use in C Sharp. First one is the simple plus sign that is used for addition. Like I said, add we use this operator to add stuff. Minus for negative, star for multiplication, slash we use for division, and we use percent sign for modulus. So whenever we are dividing something, we want to take the reminder. We use this modulus sign. This double plus and double minus sign are known as increment and decrement. So whenever we are using anything like any value, and we say we are defined a value integer age, okay, and if we want to increase this value age value by 1, so we can just simply write age plus plus. So this will mean to the system that we want to increase value of age by 1. In similar way, when we use double minus decrement, it decreases the value every time by 1. Another after this, we have assignment operators. So we will assignment operators. This is used to assign values and everything. Here we have used this equal signs. This is an assignment operator. Here we use this equal to sign to assign, like x is equal to 5. So we are assigning this value, assigning this 5 value to the left side x. Plus is equal to looks similar, but it means here that if we have a value, like if we have a value x is equal to 6, and we want to add in x 4, so we can just simply write x plus is equal to 4. That will mean to the system like x is equal to x plus 4. So to to write in a compact form, we write it like this: x plus is equal to, this means that x is added to itself 4, this content. In similar way, we have for addition, subtraction, division, modules for everything. We have comparison operators, and these operators are mainly used in conditional statement, and these are very important in programming. As whenever we are making decision-making statements or functions, these are being used mostly at that time. So these comparison operators, this is used to compare the operands or the elements we are using in our function. Like we have seen, we are using single equal sign to assigning a value. Then how would we compare that these two values are equal or not? So for that, we not use single equal sign. We use double sign to compare. So for equals, we use double equal sign. For not equals, we use to check if something is equals or not. So if I'll write one comparison thing here, int x, or not int, simply console.writeLine is 8 equals to 4. So this is going to compare these two values. We're getting false value. And comparison operators generally they give just result in Boolean. These comparison operators results are always in Boolean. Either it will be true or false. So whenever we are comparing stuff, we are comparing two things. So only either it will be a true condition or a false condition in comparison operators. We can check something is greater than or not, equal or not. Similar to comparison operators, we have logical operators also. So logical operators are used for determining the logic between two variables or values we are using. So we use 3 terms in C# here. That is two signs, these and signs, and we use that logical and, similar way to state logical or, and one is logical not. So in this logical and, what happens whenever we are comparing two things, two variables or values, anything, this and means these two values should be true. To make that statement true, whole statement true, these two values should be true. And whenever we are using logical or, like x is greater than 5 or x is greater than 4, any one of them can be true and the statement will be executed and the function will be done. But in AND, both side of the elements will have to be true to perform that function. Logical not returns false. Logical not, what it does, it just uh, reciprocate that, not reciprocate, but it just give the opposite value. So whenever if you're using something, comparing something and the value will get false, then it will convert false into true. Okay, and logical operators just also gives value in true and false. So here logical operators, if you want to see some more examples about that. Okay, when we will be discussing conditional statement, we will be using both of them together, these operators as well as these comparison operators. Okay, so now we'll move to the part of conditional statements. So for conditional statements, conditional statements. So how we can define a conditional statement? So as the word suggests, condition. Okay, so in this we generally take the condition and we use that condition to compare or to perform some actions and some result to produce some result. Okay, so we have four types here. If statement, if with else we say it, if else statement. Okay, these all are conditional statement. Else if statement, switch statement. Okay, so C supports the usual logical condition from, as we said, these comparison operators we use to compare in our conditional statement. So first we'll start with our if statement. Wait, just give me 1 second break. So we were talking about if statement. So this conditional statement we use whenever we are making a decision making thing. Like we want to compare some values, some stuff, some functions and everything. Then we use this statement and we can use if, else, if else and switch. First we will be saying if statement. Okay. So what this if statement does, as I said, we compare condition. So here a simple syntax to give a context for that, it is we use if keyword. Okay. So when we're using if keyword and we provide a condition. Okay. So we provide a condition to the system and then it compares that if this condition is true, then it will move forward to the next line and whatever code inside this code block will be get executed. So if I'll show you one basic if thing, like simply here, this console writing enter your age. Okay, we'll write here console write line. Here is the line. Here is a line. At this moment, if we'll run our program, this shows result. But if we use if statement before this, like if that condition will be true, then only we will move forward to the next line. So as the syntax suggests us, if keyword, then we provide the condition and then we'll move forward with the code to be executed. So this statement is nothing is the condition right now. So we provide a condition if keyword and we'll provide a random condition to it, like if 4 is greater than 8. We all know that this is not true and we'll see what happens and we'll put our code inside this. So if this condition is true, first we'll see the true thing. If 8 is greater than 4, So if this condition is true, this condition is satisfied, it will go to the next one. See, we can see here is a line, we can see our result. But if we provide a wrong, like condition will be provided condition is wrong or false, that we can't move forward to the next line of code, next code block. We change that 4 to 8. We all know this is not right, this is wrong. So now you'll see the result. We can't see anything. Why? Why? Because the condition we provided is not satisfied. So that this code is being terminated from here and the code block inside the if statement is not getting executed. We can define it with like some values also. We can say some variables also. We just can't use only values. We can use anything inside that. So we are going to use variables. If I'm defining a variable int age is equal to 18. Okay. And another is int voter age is equal to 20. So we have two variables, age and voter age. Now what we are going to do, we are providing an if with a condition that voter age is greater than age. Then if this condition is true, then we are going to print. Basically, we are checking that if age will be greater than 20, then he is eligible to vote. Okay. So voter age is 20 and we're providing some person's age is 18. Okay. So console dot write line. What we're going to write eligible to vote and with semicolon. So here one variable, it is the integer value that is 18 age and another is voter age 20. Okay, so we have said that voting age is limit to 20. So if this statement voter age is greater than provided age, we'll print this line. Otherwise, this is going to be this is not going to be executed. So, see, eligible to vote. Okay, why this? Now, if I change this to age is greater than 20, we know age is not greater than here. So for eligible vote, it is already less. He can't vote. So for that, we'll check. Not 20, we have to use the variable name, voter age. See, we are not getting any result. At this point, we will move forward to our next conditional statement, that was else. So we are getting result if the condition is true, we are getting result. And what if the condition is not true? What else? So for that else, we use else statement. So if this condition is not true, if condition is true, we are providing something content for our user to print or something. But when it is not true, we provide else statement, which will be executed if the provided condition is not true. This will leave this block and this will move to the another statement else and will execute the code inside the else statement. Will provide not eligible. Not eligible. See, if we change the values like from 18 to 21, now what do you think we should get? We're getting eligible to vote. Why? Why now this condition is true? Age is greater than voter age, so this if statement is being executed, and after that this else statement is not required anymore. So this is used like this. If statement is true, that method will be executed inside that code block. Otherwise, if that is condition is not true, we'll move to the next else statement. Similarly, I also said that we'll be seeing else if. Okay, we see else also if condition and else. We saw else. After that, we will move to else if. Else if nothing just but you can say nested or modified version of else if else, in which we provide if condition. Okay, so that if the we know if the if condition is true, that condition one is true, we're going to execute this and we'll leave the rest of the code. But if that condition is not true, then we will try to check in else if code. And if only that both of these not true, we'll move to the else. See, like here, vote age. We'll provide one random condition to this else if. Condition. Condition what we should give anything 45 is greater than 8. 45 greater than 80. We know that is wrong. Console.writeLine. A random example. Okay. So what we know by seeing just here that this condition is true and we are using else if, then we move forward to if else, then else. At this moment, if we run our code, we'll get eligible to vote. Why? Because our first condition is true. But what if we'll make this wrong? Okay. So we're getting not eligible. Why? We check this first condition. First condition was not true. Then we move to our second condition. It was also not true. Then we move to our else. Like if this condition was not okay for me, then we move to the next option. It was not okay for me, then we move to the finally else. So this is how else if works. After that, we had switch. So for switch is also considered as a conditional statement. And
I have a question.
Hmm.
Yes. There is only two conditions, right?
yes,
Else, yeah. If we have more than two conditions, then also we can use else if condition,
yes, we can move from
like
one to another.
multiple condition if we
Yes,
have.
yes, we can go. And for that similar case, not similar case, we can move from this condition to another, to another, and another. If all of them are not true, then we define a else condition. If all of them conditions are not true, then we'll move to the else.
All right.
And for that, when we have multiple cases, for that purpose, we use switch. This is exactly what I was talking about, this switch. Switch conditional statement we use when we have multiple cases, okay? Like this is a simple syntax for that. In this, we provide an expression, not a condition. We provide an expression to the switch. Switch is a keyword. We provide some expression inside that. And inside that, a large code block is there. Okay, inside this code block from opening to closing braces, we give our cases, different cases, which depends on this expression. So what it does, switch statement. What it does, it takes the expression and it tries to match with each of the cases, case X, case Y, case Z. And whenever the code gets matched, those expressions got matched, those code block inside will be executed. So we will see an example that will be more suitable for that. So we're using switch. For switch, okay. So multiple cases. So uh, basic example is for like if we have int day value is we give 4. Okay, we have multiple days in a week, so we'll try to find it. One thing in that we provide integers only. I guess I'm not sure about this at this moment, but I think we just provide as an expression this integers value to switch. After this, if we use switch, for switch we use an expression here as a syntax expression. For this expression, we use just integer values in C#. So int day. Okay, we have defined a day that is 4, and what we are going to find in this program is that we have 7 days in a week. So we'll try to find out different cases like which day we want to go for. Okay. So different expression, which day I want to search like days for which day it is in our week. Okay, so we have defined an integer day in our variable day. we are passing that day into our switch expression with switch keyword, and inside that we use the word case. Case will start from, okay, we'll start from 0. We'll start from 0, and what we'll do, console dot write line connect. We'll start from case 1. This wait. Okay, I was not finishing the line. Okay, so switch statement, we provide our expression in like same syntax. We use the switch keyword. We provide an expression as an integer. Integer holds a value 4. We use that, and we are providing cases for that. Case 1, we used case 1 as Sunday. Okay. Just copy. Anything I was writing here. Case 4, yeah, and Thursday, and one more just for going more than with the value. So we'll use that 3 only. Okay, we have defined 4 cases here inside switch statement, and the day value is now 3. We have 4 cases. So what is this switch statement is going to do? This switch is going to take the value 3 here, and this is going to compare with each of these cases. And when this value is getting matched with any of the cases, this is a break statement. This is break keyword. So what this break keyword does, whenever we are executing our code in switch statement, this will try to match first in case 1, second in case 2, second, then in third 3, then in 4. So when this expression is getting matched with any of the cases, okay, then this code inside that case, that code will be get executed, and this break will be called. And what it will do, it will just break off from the function switch expression and just move up from the code block. So we have 4 conditions here, but we'll see the result. We say the value 2. We're getting our value Tuesday. Why? Because our value was 3. It was comparing to each of the cases, and when it got matched, it just skipped after anything was there. It just skipped that part and just executed the result. If we change this value to 2, it will just go until 2, and then after that it will break from there. So this is very useful when we have long list of cases and we does not want to go through each of them. We use a break so that whenever we find our result, we just move out from the code and just execute whatever it was. And after that switch, we have loops. Okay, and in loops, okay, we have limited time here. I will try to just describe what it is, and we'll try to show you a little bit of it. So in loops, we have while loop. And in while loop, we have a simple while loop and a do while loop. Both of these syntaxes are here. We'll see what while loop does. So while loops through a block of code as long as specified condition is true. So we are using a while keyword and providing a condition. So what while loop does, it takes the condition, and in a loop means whenever something has its starting and ending point come together and it moves around and around. So what it does is does the same thing. Whenever we use while with a condition, it checks the condition, and if the condition is true, this is going to be like a continuous cycle for that. So in first, if I do, I use while, and if I say M4, and I use int val is equal to 4, and I use while what? While is val is greater than 7, greater than or equal to 4, same thing. And now we'll console out write hello. So what this is going to do, this is going to check this, and until this is true, this is going to be executed again and again. That loop is continuing. I'm losing the. So if I didn't use the right values here, that's why it was not continuous. It was not it was an infinite loop. It is still executing. We can't see, but it is still executing. So value equals to 4, and sorry, this time constant is making me rush. So I will give an example for that. And for do while, we have do while loop. So what do while do is in while statement, we just saw that whenever we have a condition, it checks for the condition, and if the condition is true, it continues performing its functions. And in do while, what it does, we have a do keyword word also before that. So first, it executes the code, some code we provide inside the do. First, it will perform that action, then it will move to the while condition. Okay. Value simple I is equals to 0, and if we use a while I is less than 5. Okay. Now if we want to print, but we have to move forward, that is increment I plus plus. Okay, so every time this cycle goes, once it goes from here, I is less than 5, it one round, then again increases that value, I value 0 to 1, then again we come here, then I value to 2, then 3, 4, and 5. When we reach 5 and I is no longer is compatible to this, the function will stop. So I think we are getting over with our time. So I thought we would have some time to discuss our questions. I hope this was a session understandable for you. Anything you could have here to ask? And this is our Telegram and Facebook running community. You can add from there yourself. Anyone was saying something? Sorry.
Yeah, it was a good session. In next session, we will start with.
We will try to continue from this for each loop or for loop, and we'll continue with data structures and other things. We'll start from arrays, for each, for loop, etc. Because